Studios production. In this video, we're going to take a look at Lionel's short 8.5-inch boxcars. These were produced from 1948 up until the present time. They're still making them. And there's a whole bunch of them that's in the series. I don't believe anybody could possibly have all of these, but I suppose it's entirely possible. The variety that was made for these throughout the years is kind of unbelievable. There's many of them listed in the books and many variations of each one. I don't have all of them, nor do you pretend to, but if anybody does, it'd be great to hear from you. But anyway, we're going to go through these, what I've got, and get a good overview of what's out there and how to identify different types of bodies. Starting in 1948, after World War II, Lionel started expanding its use of injected molded plastics. And one of the things they came up with they started their Scout sets. And included in that set was a 1004 Baby Ruth boxcar. Now these are 8.5 inches long, and the body is molded in one piece, so the doors are one piece with the body. Some people call these fixed doors, some people call them plug doors, but they're really sliding doors, but whatever it is, they don't move. So anyway, they brought these out. These were generally a plastic body mounted to a steel frame with a tab on one end that was flipped through the body, and then a screw on the opposite end held the body in place on the frame. Lionel also made a X6004 Baby Ruth boxcar. It also had the outline lettering on it. It also came with the Scout trucks. However, it did have magnetic couplers on it, like two of the other ones I'm going to show you here. This is the X6014. And these were produced between 1951 and 1956 as the Type 1 body. And I'll explain that here later on. It has to do with the rivet detail. This one has the full complement of rivet details on the side of the body, so it's Type 1. Later they went back and shortened the two over there by where it says Baby Ruth, making the Type 2 body. And there's a Type 2A and a Type 2B body, which has to do with the holes on the top for the hydraulic maintenance car, which I'll show you that later too. Anyhow, these were Type 1. They were produced in white and in red. So we have two of these. The 6014 Baby Ruth cars, according to the book, were supposed to have bar-in trucks and then later on staple-in trucks as it went through normal production. This one, however, has the Scout trucks with magnetic couplers. So it's a possibility that the body could have been changed on this one at some time. Sometimes that happens. This one is the X6034 Baby Ruth boxcar. This one was produced between 1953 and 1954. And this one does say it is correct with the Scout trucks and the magnetic couplers on. Once again, it's a Type 3 body. There's two variations of this one. This one has the dark blue lettering, and there's another variation where the lettering is really dark blue, almost black. Okay, as a clarification, I want to discuss the Scout trucks and couplers. Once again, these were produced to compete with the lower end sales from Marks and some of the other competitors. These actually were not real well made. If I can turn it over here, you can see that these had a steel frame, but they had plastic side frames hooked into the metal trucks. So you can see the piece there. There again, you can see these couplers. They're not anything like on the regular line, and once again, they are not compatible. But I just wanted to show that so you can see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the Scout trucks. Now, some of these cars do have the Scout trucks, but they put the magnetic couplers on just the way they did with the regular trucks on the line. Okay, now we're going to go on to the 6014 Frisco boxcars. there's like 11 different variations of these. These were from 1957 with the Type 1 body. There's some with the Type 2 body, and some with the Type 2A and B body, and some with the Type 3 body. And those with the Type 3 body were produced in 1969. And I have examples of most of these. I don't, however, have any of them with the coin slots in the top of them. Those are pretty hard to find these days. Difference in the body was these rivet details. This is the Type A, because it has all the rivet detail on it. Later they shortened these four so they could have more room in this area to print more logos and stuff in that area. Gave more. That was a Type 2 body. Type 2A because it had a solid roof walk. Type 2B when they put two holes in the top of this so they could produce this car. This is a hydraulic platform car, and this is known as the cop and hobo car. They needed to modify the body so they could put the superstructure on top for the cop and hobo change. So we have Type 1. These are 1957 production. You have it in the white. You have it in the red. And also in the orange. These are a little harder to find, the Type 1s. They were actually one of the more expensive ones until somebody discovered a whole stash of the Type 3 bodies, which is that orange one sitting in the background. And I'll bring that up a little bit closer and show you what's going on there. But anyway, those three bodies are the only three that were made in actually 1957. And this one has the black lettering on it, whereas the one later one had dark blue lettering. Okay, these are the Type 3 6014 Frisco boxcars, and these were 1969 production after they had modified the dies the second time. This because there's no rivet detail on this side, and these two are almost complete right over here. So they can put bigger logos on the other side, and I'll show you some cars where they actually had to do that. Like these are, if you see the plugs on the top where they put the holes in it for the, that was actually part of the 2B body. This one is dark blue lettering as opposed to black on the other one. And I bought this one, and these were used to be quite a bit harder to find and were actually pretty expensive until I bought this one shortly thereafter. So they started flooding the market with them. I wrote the guy back because this car here is almost exactly mint condition, except for you can see where they heat stamped it a little bit heavy, which would align with the story that I got. These may have been factory rejects, and they were about to be thrown out, and they were, somebody bought them all, had them in storage for a lot of years, and then decided about the time I bought this to start assembling them and selling them. And then they did that. The price of this went way down. Thank God I don't have a whole lot in it, but that's it. That's why I think the 57 orange one is probably one of the harder ones to find. There again, these had coin slots in them and all body types according to the book, but I haven't been able to find one. I have a friend on YouTube, Mr. Lance Boyle, that has one of these cars with a coin slot in it, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it. When he says it's original, I'll have to take his word for it. Okay, maybe getting out of sequence, but this is the 6050 Lionel Savings Bank. These were produced in 1961. Now this one still has a Type 1 body, and there's two variations of this. Looking down here, the built by, if I can zoom in on that. This one says BLT by Lionel. The other variation spells out the word built, so it's built by Lionel. This one has the BLT. Now you're looking at the 6050 Swift's Premium boxcar. These were produced in 1962 and 1963. This one is two operating couplers on it. Some of these came with one operating and one fixed coupler. And they were a darker red. And this one is unique because this is a Type 2 body, because these are all removed here. But this is beautiful because this is a Type 2A body. You can see the coin slot in it, and there's no plugs on top for these. This was previous to that. That body change was made somewhere around 1962, 63 when, and then they added the holes to make the 2B when they produced the hydraulic car I showed you earlier. I want to do a quick little segment here on the coin slots. And these show up in various different cars. Like I said, the 6014 Friscos, some of them have, some of them don't. But these, if you notice, they're all very similar in size and location. And I did some notice on these. Every one of the coin slots are on the end without the brake wheel. But if you see where they're at, they're all a distinct size, and distinct location on these cars. So I would assume very well that these were probably cut with a jig of some sort, that they probably put the body in and then used a saw to cut those holes in there. So if you have coin slots, and some of these, like I said, like the 6014s, are a little more expensive with that coin slot, and you want to make sure that somebody hasn't done that on their own to get a little extra money. There are people out there that do unscrupulous things like that. So you want to look at these and study these coin slots and make sure that if you have one, make sure that it is original. That should be very, very similar to these. If, like I say, once again, if you look, they're all about in the exact same place. This is the 6050 Libby's tomato juice. This one was produced around 1963. It was part of a promotional outfit that they made for Libby's. And this one also has the coin slot in the top and the two tags you can see on there, two plugs. This one also has a Type 3 body because now there's no rivets on the other side. You can see the size of the logo they got on there. Now let me zoom in on this over here because there's a couple different variations of this car. They're quite valuable if you can find them. See the little white lines between the tomatoes and the can? Sometimes those are missing, and some of the other ones they didn't put the green leaves on the tomatoes. So there's three different variations of this one just because of the mess up on the logo. These are actually pretty nice cars. And this one has the fixed couplers on both ends. Looks like the standard Timken bearing trucks. Okay, you're looking at the Stokely Van Camp's pork and beans car. This was an uncatalogued item that was produced between 1962 and 1964. It was the first use for the Type 2 body, which, remember the short ones over here, and these are still in position. Now these are actually 2B bodies, but the book says they show up in all three types. These have got Type 2A, 2B, and Type 3 bodies. Once again, these have the coin slot in them. And the number down here was kind of odd, and it took collectors a few years to figure out what all it was out there, but they figured out that that was actually the phone number for Stokely Van Camp's. So now I wound up with two of these. Just lucky, I guess. But they're pretty nice, and they both have the coin slot in them also. As I stated earlier, you go through these cars and you see little bitty things that are different on each one of them. And sometimes you can attribute it to somebody changing frames or something in that respect. But I just noticed something on these that I hadn't noticed earlier, is on these two cars, which are identical. This one has the standard AAR trucks on it, whereas the other one has the arch bar trucks on it. And these are fixed couplers. So you really want to study your cars. Sometimes you'll find little subtleties that are different between the two of them. I think they both have fixed couplers on both ends, so just saying. And according to the book, the arch bar trucks were standard for this, so it's a possibility this other one may have had a frame change at some time. Okay, you're looking at the 3357 hydraulic platform maintenance car, also referred to as the cop and hobo car. There's a cop and a hobo that would sit up on top of that superstructure on top, and as it went through a superstructure over the track, they would switch places, so the cop never quite caught up with the hobo. These were produced between 1962 and 1964. The earlier production had two operating couplers, as this one has, and in the mid-1963 they changed from one operating coupler and one fixed coupler. Now these sets aren't complete unless they have the superstructure and the cop and hobo to go along with them. Now, later on in the modern era, they re-released this car into New Hampshire, and they're fun. Now, when they built this car, they had to modify the dies. See, this is actually a Type 2 body with the short ribs over here and the full ones over here. But this was when to mount the superstructure, they needed 2 screw holes to hold that in. They've also modified this so these pieces go down in there a little bit as well. But that was the difference between the Type 2A and the Type 2B body. This one was the one that required it to make the Type 2B. You're looking at the 6044 AirX boxcar. These were produced earlier as a 6014 AirX boxcar, but the body was red and had similar writing on it with the white and the yellow. This is the 6044, the later version. This is actually the teal green body of it. There was 2 teal greens. The other one had thick orange lettering on it, whereas this one has the standard lettering on it. It's a little harder to find than the other one. The other there's one with a dark purple body that's really hard to find, very expensive. And then the standard medium blue body. These are pretty nice cars. AirX was another site of Lionel where they actually sold fishing tackle. And that's where they got this one. Of course, they're used the promotional sets they would use which they had, and they had their own company, so they used it.